introduce who we are and kind of how we fit into the company. And then if you want to do the same and just sort of your role at the high school and then also how you use Reach, then from there we keep it pretty conversational. So you can kind of dive in, kind of tell us a little bit about the signage and how it got started, and then we'll just kind of pipe in with questions if that works.
Perfect.
Awesome. I'll kick things off on the Reach side. My name is Tristan Helene, and I'm Director of Client Relations here at Reach. So I help manage our creative team, and then I work really close with Camden and Zach too on some of our marketing efforts, which includes kind of chatting with some clients, understanding how they're using the signage, kind of maybe unique ways that they're doing it, and then talking too about maybe future ideas that you guys are thinking of doing as well.
And then I'm Camden. As Tristan said, I'll be the one writing the feature article. I'm our website content manager here at Reach. So in addition to writing informative blogs and case studies on our website, I also help manage some internal documentation as well. So.
And I am a marketing specialist with Reach. I typically do external communications with emails and manage our CRM. And for these kind of meetings, I typically just take notes in the background, being quiet. I might ask a few questions at the end, but for that, that's about it for me.
And I'm Aileen Peterson. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Spruce Grove Composite High School in Spruce Grove, Alberta, Canada.
Awesome. Perfect. Do you know how long you guys have been using Reach? I forgot to look into that.
About a year.
A year? Okay, perfect. And then how do you, like on a day-to-day basis, are you in there or like what is your role like with the Reach signage?
Well, so because we've just started a year and it's sort of a small part of
Sure.
my portfolio, so it is
Yeah.
it's a piece of what we do, and we actually moved from a different signage platform that really wasn't working. It wasn't nimble enough. It wasn't doing what we needed to do. And so I started looking around to see what might fit our needs. And then the company that actually handles the hardware piece had recommended Reach as one of the choices. And so it was simple enough for right now, because we are not using it to its full potential at present. We are a single message on all of the screens. That is going to change at some point. But right now, that's what we're doing. We're actually in the process here of, in about 3 more years, we're going to have a new high school.
Oh, awesome.
And so then that will probably expand what we're looking to do at that point when we're in a new building and everything is set up from scratch, because right now it's sort of pieced together. So basically we use it for internal communications with the kids, announcements, special events, that sort of thing. Cafe menus when I get them on time for me to create something. And so it's very, again, not using it to its full potential, very basic at present.
That's okay,
but it serves a purpose.
Yes. And then I think we had a note from Ashley too that maybe you use the calendar integration to flip-flop for days A and B. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. So we do have the calendar integration along the side on our setup, which works great because that just pulls from our Google Calendar, which is really I love that, because that is so easy then for me to set up and put specific announcements for kids in that calendar, which might be different from the Google Calendar that feeds to our public facing website, or different again from the calendar that's our internal school one.
Just to kind of go back on, you had a provider that wasn't kind of giving you what you needed. What was it lacking? And then what did you find in Reach that was like, oh, this will work for what we're looking for right now?
It was not integrating particularly well with the calendar. So there was lots of wasted time, because again, time is pretty important when again, it's not kid and teacher and strictly speaking school related, but that PR piece is really important. And so it was ugly, which I can't stand. If it's going to be out there where anybody walking into the building can see it, then it really shouldn't be ugly. It should look professional. It should be able to, we're a professional organization full of kids, but nonetheless, we've got people coming through, and I didn't want it to, I don't know, look like something from 20 years ago. It was horrid.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to update and to adjust.
And then who was that hardware provider? I don't see it listed in your on your dashboard.
Campus Tech, I
Okay.
believe, is the organization
Got
out
it.
of
Okay.
Sherwood Park that does our hardware piece.
Awesome. And then one more thing I kind of noticed on your account that I wanted to just talk to you about for sure was I noticed that you're using some form of web signage. How are you guys utilizing that piece? Or is it on your website? Are we pulling
Yeah.
stuff on your website, or how is that working?
On our website, we also because we're trying a few different things with internal announcements for kids,
Sure.
and so we've got an internal Google site that teachers can
Oh.
pull up on their screens for their classes, because
Okay.
we don't have TV screens in all of our classrooms.
Yeah.
So this was sort of a way of bringing that in so that teachers could show the screens in their classrooms.
Awesome. So it just is cycling through kind of those announcements that you have on the website and then on those screens as well. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Are you the one on a day-to-day basis who is sort of publishing content, or are there other
Yeah.
people within the high school that is doing that too?
Yeah, right now it's still just me,
Got
because
it.
because sometimes when people create things, they just stretch graphics
I
out
totally
and
get
they
it.
don't use the right resolution. And even
Yeah.
still, people send me like posters that
Yeah.
are 8.5 by 11 designed to be printed out. It doesn't matter how many times they say that's not the right size.
Yeah.
I have to then do a bunch of stuff too. It doesn't seem to matter, and then it looks ugly.
Yes, right. I feel that to my core, so I completely get it. And we hear that quite a bit. So, if there's ever, I mean, once you decide to sort of open it up to other people, if there's ways that we can sort of help, sort of manage the consistency or something like that, let us know, and we can sort of brainstorm maybe some ideas of how we can do that, so we can take some of that off of your plate, hopefully, eventually, and open it up to people while maintaining it to obviously be branded and to look pretty. So
That's what I would like. I would like to be able to push it off, because I don't
right.
actually need to micromanage it.
Right.
But
Yeah, I'm gonna just make a note and just see. There might be other things that other organizations are doing to sort of kind of keep an eye on that, or make sure that it is you know, it kind of meets the standards that you guys are looking for. So I'll just make a note of that, and maybe have Ashley follow up with you on maybe some ideas other people are doing that might be worth implementing later on down the road for sure.
that'd be great.
Yeah. You mentioned Google Calendar is the integration for kind of the scheduling piece. There's no other integrations that you are using, right? Just that one?
That's the main one right now.
Okay.
We have another one set up that we can use, but it's not as regular. The calendar one is all
I
the
see.
time.
Okay. Perfect. Let's see. Camden, do you have, I mean, we've gone through a lot of my stuff already. That was thorough and quick. I like it.
Yeah, very efficient. I'd say, yeah, you've already kind of given us a holistic idea of how you guys are utilizing your signage, both internally and student facing. I was just going to ask, have you received any feedback, whether from staff or students alike, or seen any noticeable changes in like event participation since implementing the calendar integration and displays and such like that?
Kids are using it, so they are using it. They're acknowledging it. Staff notice it because they are making sure that they let me know when there's stuff that needs to be up there if I haven't noticed it already from the calendar. We have had lots of comments like, "Oh my goodness, this looks so good." It does, because the graphics are the right
Yeah.
size. So yes, it does. It looks much better. And it's sometimes funny because people will be talking to me and they'll be like, "Oh, whoever's doing this is doing a great job."
You do just pat yourself on the back, give it a little
Thank
pat.
you.
They should, yeah. So it's kind of amusing. So yes, we have done that. The other thing that I like is that for I find it really easy. So like when we have special events on the weekend, so like we had a band thing on the weekend, and we had sponsors that we were thanking. And so it's really easy then to flip that. So for Saturday and Sunday, we've got a full screen without the calendar, without that stuff, that just has, the 3 slides, for instance, that are appropriate for that event. So we can do that when we have volleyball or basketball tournaments. So that is, and I like how easy that is, because if I can manage it in just a couple of clicks, then that's exactly what I want.
And that's a nice little
awesome.
personal touch. Yeah, I like that use case for sure.
And then the only other thing I was going to ask is, I know you guys are still relatively new to the Reach signage. I know you said you're still exploring how to get the most out of this, platform. Are there any specific use cases or ways you want to or plan to use it in the future?
So eventually, and some of this, I mean, it's unfortunate but true, like is cost related as well, right? So having one playlist on all the screens is much more cost efficient than running two. In my perfect world, if money was no option, then I would have like for our library screens, for instance, I would have those running some different playlists, right? And probably not have all of the content that's on the ones down here. When we get to the new school and we decide how we're putting where we're putting screens, and again, being able to really customize those for the locations that they're in, like the ones outside the gym would be different than the ones outside the library, which would be different than the ones outside the cafeteria, for instance, and in the student lounge, right? With some commonalities between, but that's a cost benefit analysis too, right?
Sure.
Absolutely. Other than that, I think I'm good, Tristan.
Yeah, I guess one thing I thought of is when you're scheduling content, are you typically pre-scheduling that out? So like as you get it, you sort of set it when your start date, your end date, when you want it pulled down, or are you pushing most of it live sort of in that given moment?
Half and half. It depends on how
Sure.
organized I am
I get that.
and how much, like, if I'm organized and I'm on the ball, then I like it when I can schedule it and then have it ready to go and not think about it for a couple of weeks. Obviously stuff comes up sometimes when we have to do it. I try as much as I can to schedule it and to make sure that I've got the end date so I don't have to think about pulling stale content off. Like that I use all the time.
Okay, perfect. One thing too we like to do on these calls, while we have you and we're kind of chatting about these things, if there's ever sort of a functionality or we call it kind of a wish list or something that maybe would be beneficial to your workflow, or you just don't know, if it's available or anything, definitely you can let us know now if any pop up in your head. But otherwise, definitely let Ashley know as those things pop up. I will say that is how our software continues to grow and evolve and sort of get these functionalities that are useful to clients, is because we kind of hear from you guys what you're looking for and what will make things easier. So we are kind of happy to take that information in. Our dev team has kind of a master queue of potential projects. So the more we hear about it, the quicker it kind of gets moved up that dev list.
Great. That's good to know. I can't think of anything right now, but if I do, I'll for sure reach out.
And then one other thing we always kind of like to mention, it's included in all of the licensing, in the cost of every license. And I think sometimes it just sort of gets lost in the shuffle, is the free design services. So over time, if you sort of notice, hey, what we thought, they would be looking at, maybe it is not working how we wanted it to, or we want to add something different. We want to add social media, or we want to add something like that. Let us know. That doesn't have to fall on you to figure out or create or whatever. Our team here is happy to do that. It's included. It can be done at any time, an unlimited amount of times. So if you ever kind of notice that, or if you just want it to be kind of a refresh, right? Just changing the background color or something just to kind of make it look new and kind of refreshed, we are happy to do any of that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Zach, any questions on your end while you were jotting down notes or things that popped up?
Yes. I don't think this was asked, and if it was, I apologize. Did you state where your displays are located? I know you mentioned that teachers are bringing it into to classrooms, but is there any like specific locations they're located in?
They're located on all of our floors. We're a 3-floor building, so on all of our floors at the major intersections. We have a large one in our cafeteria, for instance, a large one in our student lounge, our libraries, and then in all of our hallways is where the main screens are located.
Okay.
And then the other is if teachers choose to pull up the internal Google site, then that's where I've got it looped in if they want to run it that way.
And how many physical screens then do you have in that location? Do you know? Because when I'm looking at your dashboard, it must be set up a little bit different than some of our other ones. Okay.
I think we have like again 10 screens all running.
Okay.
Maybe 8 to 10 running the same playlist.
Got it. 8 to 10. Perfect.
And again,
That
once
can
we
be
get
fun.
into our new building, I'm excited to see how great everything can look then. Like that's
Yeah.
going to be because that's going to be the branding and the look and feel is going to be so important for the overall piece and how that